You have found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. In today's episode, me and Pat are going to be giving our season grade for Derrick Jones Jr. Zach and DeMar apparently also got third place All-NBA team votes, and Dalen Terry is going to be representing the Bulls at the draft lottery. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. That's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. But Pat, Derrick Jones Jr., giving a grade. We've been continuing. We're about close to wrapping up the season grades right as we get ready to head towards the draft. And who knows, maybe the Bulls can get lucky and we can actually start some draft profiles. But before we talk about that, season grades for Derrick Jones Jr., man, how are you feeling about the season that DJJ had for the Chicago Bulls?
DJJ to me is a player that you can't quantify in the numbers, right? He's a guy that to me you have to look at him in the sense of, okay, what is he going to be when he's actually on the court? What is he providing? What kind of energy is he bringing? To me, DJJ, I have to give him a B plus. And I know Muzz are going to be like, you giving DJJ a B plus? Hear me out on this, though. DJJ is the epitome of if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. He came into the game in second halves of games sometime after not playing multiple games in a row where he just showed up and made an impact, and then you wouldn't see him for the next couple of games. Now, do I want to see DJJ starting every night? Probably not, right? Because he's starting at power forward every time when Billy Donovan throws him out there. But or center? You never know. But do I like the impact that he was able to make when he did get his time on the floor? I do. And I think that I actually like the fact that he opted into his deal. I think he's the perfect bench piece for you to have, the perfect kind of glue guy for you to have on this team. Especially at what is it? Like he's basically here for like $2 million. So it's not like you're breaking the bank on him. I love the fact that he opted in. I thought that he gave you really good energy, really good opportunity. And I know, as surprising as this may seem, ain't DJJ only like 26?
I think he turned 27 this year. Oh,
he's been in the league.
He turned 27 in 1997. He's been in the league
like 10 years almost, bro.
That's
like
crazy.
He's almost got 10 years in the league. He's like 27 years old.
That's wild.
But I really like I like DJJ's role off of the bench. I think he's just good enough of a 3-point shooter too for me to be okay with it. The percentages won't show it, but he also didn't take a lot of them.
To me, I love what you said there. Derrick Jones Jr. is the perfect role player. Just to me. And by that meaning, he's going to embrace and find a way to impact no matter what role you've played him in. We've seen Derrick Jones Jr. play some 3, 4, and 5. And I would say sometimes he has the biggest impact when he is playing the backup 5. And we all know that DJJ, while 6'6", is 200. Dalen Terry almost weighs more than Derrick Jones Jr. We see how small Dalen Terry looks out there sometimes. Yeah. And that's why I'm fearful when you hear AK say things like, well, I hope to see Dalen Terry play some backup 5 at some point, because it's like, y'all doing that with DJJ. Damn it. Damn it.
He's about to become DJJ.
But real
DTJ.
Talk. Real talk. Derrick Jones Jr., like you said, I can't stress enough how important it is that he comes in the game, no matter how long he didn't play, how much he did play, whatever else, and he finds a way to impact the game every single time. Whether it's the highlight reel dunks, whether it's the blocks, whether it is some solid defense when he's not playing out of position or completely outweighed. Like, I really do feel like this. If Derrick Jones Jr. was able to play some actual backup 3 and maybe a little 4, I think we would have this complete, like that $3.3 million on this deal would be looked at as an absolute steal, because he always finds a way he's always in the right spots usually. Unfortunately, he always seems to hurt his head or his hand. Like he's always touching one or the other.
He's always holding his wrist, bro.
Yeah,
I swear.
it's crazy.
It's off an and one that he didn't got like. It doesn't look like anybody hit his wrist, and he just, oh my god. I think it's permanent. I'm gonna be honest with you. I said that during the season.
You may have some permanent nerve damage there.
I think he's got permanent damage in his wrist, and that's why he always holds it.
I mean,
because
it's always taped up too. So
yeah, it's always taped. There's always. I think like he dunked one time and probably dunked that mug too hard, and he got permanent damage on that.
Wouldn't be surprised, man. But yeah, DJJ is just. I mean, especially at what you pay him, right? And I know we give these grades, and some people may be like, "How'd you give such and such and C, but Derrick Jones Jr. gets a B?" It's because it's a different expectation. Like when you're not consistently in the lineup, in the rotation, but you find a way. Listen, he does what we want Patrick Williams to do on a much higher level. Always find a way to impact the game.
Yeah, and that's the main thing, right? Like it's not about what do you do to the best of your ability. It's about what can you do in the role that you've been given. Derrick Jones Jr. has been given a role where he's not going to see the floor every night. He's not going to see the floor 20 minutes a game, right? He's just not, based on how this team is constructed, unless we have injury issues and stuff like that. Then he might see it a little bit more, but he's realistically going to play 15 to 20 minutes a game, more so 15 than anything, right? And some of those minutes are going to be at the end of the game if the Bulls are winning and or getting beat by 25, right? So I think that's when you have that in mind, realistically, you're talking about him making a real impact on a game for maybe 10 to 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And that is the role that he has to have. If Patrick Williams made an impact on a game for 10 to 12 minutes every night, we wouldn't sit here and talk about him the way we do. The problem is that there's too many times where you can't find that impact for a lot of players on this team. And so when you see somebody that has that, and I think the other thing is too, we just have too many of this guy. Right, like DJJ is the Caruso, is the Javonte Green, is the like it is what Dalen Terry was the couple of games that he actually got some time on the floor, right? Like we got too many of that guy. We need the guy that actually can do the other stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, so yeah, we have a lot of, and well, I'd say Alex Caruso is a specialist in the fact that defensively he's just amazing.
Yes.
But like you said, Javonte, Derrick Jones Jr., these are guys that like they come in and they play a role, they do something, but we need some more specialists on this team. We need a knockdown shooter or two if we can get one, right? But and I do think that Derrick Jones Jr. and his willingness and versatility may be why Javonte isn't re-signed, especially if Javonte tries to get a lot of money. And I think that, you know, if you can replace one of those guys with a shooter or a rebounder or something like that, you do that. You don't need both of those guys. And so, you know, I like you said, I like that Derrick Jones Jr. opted in. I like that he likes being here. I like that and I'll tell you what, too, like there's something to be said about making those energy plays that get the crowd in the game. Derrick Jones Jr. makes a lot of those, bro. A lot.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy that's willing to sacrifice himself. He's the guy that's willing to die for the basketball. He's the guy that's willing to, right? Like he is what the Bulls need in so many instances with the glue part to get the other guys going. But the again, as we've talked about all season long, you need more than just the glue guys. You need more than just the role players. We've got plenty of role players on this team. Or realistically, right, you need your stars to be your stars. I think that DJJ's impact is a lot more if we see Zach LaVine playing the way that he played in the second half of the season, if we see DeMar DeRozan playing the way that he played in the second half of the season, and we saw DJJ in the second half of the season where that impact was more, right? That game-saving block that he had against, who was that, Toronto or is that Miami last game of regular season? One of those mugs, right? Right, like those game-saving blocks, the quick steals from behind, just being able to throw them out there with Pat Bev, Caruso, P. Will, right? The length, right? When our arms combined, we are Captain Carney. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're trying to get back to out here. So I like when you put the players in a situation that they feel comfortable in, you see how they thrive. And I feel like DJJ felt really comfortable in the role that he had, which I think is why he opted back in. Or it could be that he didn't have any offers. Like
listen, he could very well be like, "Hey, listen, I'm not getting $3 million out there in the open market. So let me go ahead and stay here in Chicago."
I always thought about that when Rondo was like, when Rondo said, he said, "Why'd you go to the Lakers?" They offered me some money. Like, well, nobody else offering me no money.
That's what it comes down to sometimes, man. I think sometimes we want to have look at these players like, "No, you should go to the winning." You should no. Sometimes it just comes down to, listen, I got kids, I got a family. This is is what's about to get me paid.
How could you ever play for the Los Angeles Lakers? They offer me money. Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah, man, there you go. And one thing before we leave off on Derrick Jones Jr., moving to the next topic for today. Here's what I'm going to ask you. Next season, Derrick Jones Jr., do you want to see him have a more consistent role on the team, I guess is the way I should phrase it?
Depends on the team makeup, right? Like if there is no Javante, if there is no, if we're not, well, here's the real answer. No, because I want Dalen Terry to have those minutes. That's the real answer, right?
And
like
listen, no, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. So you know what? Take it back. We got the answer there. No, Dalen Terry. That's the answer. Dalen Terry. Dalen freaking Terry.
I was gonna go through this breakdown, and I was like, I actually hope he plays like 2 minutes a game because Dalen Terry all those minutes.
There you go. All right, man. Next up, we're going to be talking about Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan getting all NBA votes. But before we do that, I got to talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that's eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know that the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items and exclusions apply. All right, Pat. So we have two players on our team, and Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, that got third team all NBA votes. Now, this is surprising to me for a couple of different reasons. While Zach LaVine had a great second half of the season, or really after December, it was a rough start, rough go of it. And I do think that Zach LaVine probably would have made an all NBA team had he played like he did after December the whole entire season. DeMar, why not having the impact, not having the big nights and things like he did last season? Was really up and down the season. We found out he had the hip injury. Kind of makes sense there. I'm not holding that on indictment on him at all. But how do you feel? Are you surprised at all that they got a couple of third team all NBA votes?
I don't know if I'm surprised, because I think that when you start to look at it, right, like, are there 30 players that are better than Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan in the NBA? Probably not, right? So you're going to get some love based on the fact that you are one of the top 30 players in the NBA. Now, I know that list comes out where it's like they have DeMar at like 50 something and Zach at like 70, 100. There's no way that you sitting there looking at that list and you think that those guys are outside of the top 30 to me. And now, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because they didn't win anything with it, so it doesn't help their contract situation, nothing like that. Which maybe that kind of works in the favor of the Bulls. I don't know if anybody would have become eligible for a supermax or anything if they make that list on the Bull sense. But to me, right, like I look at what Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan did in the second half of the season. I think there's a lot of people that believe that's the Bulls team that it was supposed to be. They finally got them. They finally started to get it together with a point guard. So I think that a lot of people are a lot more favorable on how they finished the season. And that's why you see the votes go that way, right? Zach LaVine made a all NBA team last year, and they were terrible down the stretch, but it was like, well, I mean, I guess we got to put them on one of them. Like, you know what I mean? So it to me, I think they just finished on a good finish to the season for most of the games, so that they got a couple of votes for that.
That's fair. That's fair. Do you when you look at the team, and you said one thing that's great there is that this is how the team was supposed to look on the second half of the season. Moving into the offseason, what is the biggest priority that you would place on? Is it getting a starting caliber point guard, or is it getting some shooting, because we've seen how many games we lost just because of math of not shooting, not making enough threes? Is it a additional big man, a power forward to do some rim protection? Where do you put the priority if you were running the Bulls on what it would be to go out and get in the free agent market this year?
I think your priority has to be shooting, and it has to be philosophy to me. There's a there has to be a want to shoot the basketball. And I think there was more of a want from guys like P. Will and stuff like that to shoot the basketball at the end of the season. But Ayo Dosunmu didn't want to shoot that mug, right? Kobe White was letting it fly, starting to knock things down. But most of the players on this team were trying to get to the mid-range, trying to get to the cup. They weren't shooting the three ball. You have to go out there and get somebody that shoots the three ball for a living. I think if you find a shooter, I think we did a video on this. I think if you find a shooter, the Bulls, now, do they get to the top of the Eastern Conference? I doubt that, but I think they get back to where they were last season, right? You're finishing around 5th or 6th, because if you have shooting, you have players that can create open shots just by the fact that they're driving to the bucket. You got to have somebody that I can kick it out to that's going to knock down a shot, though. So I think that that's really the biggest need for the Chicago Bulls. As far as the point guard position, listen, it didn't take much. We had this, that was probably one of our biggest debates. Pat Bev ain't a top 20, 30 point guard in the NBA. Maybe 30. Maybe he's top 30. He's not a top 20 point guard in the NBA. That still feels high, but it's just not that many players, right? Like he's not a top 20 point guard in the NBA. And all of a sudden we saw Zach LaVine be a guy. You just have to have a guy that has a willingness to run your system. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you go out and get not Tyus Jones, what's his brother name? Trey Jones, right? If Trey Jones can come in here and put people in the right position, Zach LaVine's good, DeMar DeRozan's good. You got Alex Caruso still on the team if they don't end up trading anybody away, right? Like, I think that those are guys that I look at and I'm just like, is he a serviceable point guard? Yeah, that's all we really need at the position.
I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I think, like, we do need a 3-point specialist, because, like I said, even if you just add one high-level 3-point shooter into the team, even with our struggles without having a point guard early in the season, the Bulls probably win 3 or 4 more games at the start of the season. Then on top of adding Pat Bev to that, we probably win even more if we have the 3-point shooting on top of that. So it definitely could have helped the Bulls a lot out to have a 3-point shooter. And like you said, we need a serviceable point guard. We honestly need a point guard that's going to defend, pass, and can communicate, that doesn't necessarily even look to take a lot of shots, right? Especially if we add a 3-point shooter in other places. So that's a big point of where the Bulls need to be looking at as well. I just, it's going to be such an interesting offseason, bro. I did over on Central today kind of a projection as far as Bulls salary cap, and like, even if you look at the low end, if we re-sign Nikola Vucevic and Kobe White, we're about $8 to $9 million under the luxury tax at that point. We have a mid-level exception, but we're probably not going to use that, and a biannual exception. And it's like, those could both be things we use to add the things that we need to this team, but because of that artificial don't go into the luxury tax, it's going to make it tough, man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I was trying to see, kind of like looking at just the point guard list. First off, it is gross.
You almost have to go to the trade market.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I know this sounds crazy to say, but the Bulls might need to throw money at Javon Carter.
I don't, like, initially, if you would have, like, just in the vacuum, if you would have called me and been like, hey, we need to sign Javon Carter this offseason, I would have been like, man, what are you talking about? But because I have been kind of looking at some things, I don't think that's terrible, bro. I don't think that's terrible.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: serviceable and can play defense.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm looking at, right? Like, I don't need you to be the best offensive player in the NBA. I just need you to be serviceable and be able to play defense. Now the Bucks will probably bring him back, but like, there's not much out there for you to go point guard.
That's why I primarily look and monitor the trade market. Like, Trey Jones is Trey Jones and Seth Curry the biggest free agents at point guard, of course, other than Kyrie Irving, but we know we're not in that sweepstakes at all.
Yeah, I mean that, or do you go? Dog, we might really end up with Derrick Rose again. Like, I can't think of anybody. They're not going to pay him $14 million next year. Like, I really can't. Like, I'm really sitting here going through this list. I don't see anybody that even fits.
Yeah. Gonna be interesting. AK, they got their work cut out for him. That's what it boils down to, man.
Kobe White's going to be our starting point, and Derrick Rose is going to come off of the bench.
That's wild.
We're back again, Chicago.
That's
red and blue skies, baby. Red and blue. That's not what it's
wild.
Red and black skies.
That's wild. Too strong, too fast. Listen, I guess the market.
Unless we gonna go for somebody young, like maybe we go for Scottie Pippen Jr. and see if he can actually play.
Yeah, And now, before we go,
we bringing Scottie Pippen back?
That's crazy, bro. That's wild. Before we go, though, I do want to mention this. So there's a lot of now players that have become eligible or not eligible for the Supermax because of not making all NBA teams. Ja Morant's one of those players that could have had his contract converted to a Supermax, even though he already signed that extension, just because if he would have made an all NBA team. He did not. He missed out on it.
Right.
The question I want to throw to you is this. With now the CBA, the new CBA removed the restrictions where before you could only have 2 Supermax contracts on any team. Now it kind of removes that because they've made that higher spending limit at all. Do you think that we see players stay with their teams? Because keep in mind, you can't be traded within your first, 5 years to qualify for that Supermax. Do we see more players now stay with their teams to try to be eligible for that Supermax?
Well, I think we're starting to see that, right? I mean, listen, Ja Morant is been in the league, 3 years now. Luka's staying home. And I think because we have a lot more European players, right?
Mm-hmm.
European players tend to be a lot more loyal. They treat the cities very much like they treat their countries. So to me, right, like I don't think we'll ever see Giannis leave Milwaukee. It's a fun pipe dream to talk about, but I don't think we'll ever see it. I don't think we'll ever see Jokic leaving Denver. I don't think we'll ever see Luka leaving Dallas. And the only one that we've really seen moved over any amount of time is Sabonis, and he was a part of a trade. So, and he was upset that he got traded, right? Like he was upset that he got moved out of Indiana. So, I don't think that we're going to see. I think we're already not seeing a ton of movement from these players, right? I mean, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, guys like that, they've stuck around. I think the modern generation is kind of sticking with their teams a little bit more, but I don't know, man. Like,
yeah,
I like what the NBA is trying to do. I'll say that. I like what the NBA is trying to do with trying to recreate the feel of 90s basketball with a modern day era.
Yeah, and I mean, now Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum both have qualified for Supermax contracts because of what they've done, which is going to be crazy, bro.
Hey, I said lot of money, man. I said on Locked On NBA last night, it was like, there's no way I'm paying Jason Tatum a Supermax. Not after two playoff series.
Would you play Jaylen Brown a Supermax?
Yes.
And listen, with the play on the court, I can't argue that at all.
Like I get what Tatum does during the season. He's a dog. I'm not going to act
Brown
like
Brown is more clutch.
I need you in the playoffs.
Yeah.
When do I need you to show up in the playoffs? Listen, I love Kyle Korver. Kyle Korver could knock down a 3 in the playoffs. I paid you for one thing, to show up in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So yeah, I wouldn't give Tatum a Supermax.
I'm sure to some people that's going to be a hot take, but we'll leave that to John Corrales to talk about over on Locked On Celtics. That's not our job here. We're going to move on. And next up. So the Bulls are right now in the draft lottery, meaning we do have a chance to keep our own pick if it falls in the top 4. We have a 8.5% chance of it falling in the top 4, 1.8% chance of it getting the number 1 overall pick. And the Bulls are sending the rook, Dalen Terry, to represent the Bulls at the draft lottery. Now, listen, I'll say this. He's going to get more minutes at the draft lottery than he got playing in the NBA last season. And that's crazy.
It depends. They gonna call the Bulls' name first. He gonna be like, well, I'm done. This feels familiar.
I don't know, man. You know Dalen's gonna be up there smiling. You know he's gonna be up there cheesing the whole time, bro. It's
yeah.
That's crazy.
You think Dalen shows up in a bow tie? I feel like Dalen's a bow tie.
Oh, he's definitely a bow tie dude. Did he have
like
a bow tie on at the draft?
He might have. He might have had a bow tie on at the draft. I feel like Dalen's a bow tie dude. Feel like he goes that or he shows up. Well, they probably wanted to send Javante, but Javante said, "I'm coming in a sweatsuit."
That's very accurate. Remember
can you smoke Black and Milds on the draft? Nah, bro, you can't. I ain't going.
I'm good, y'all. I'm good. That's crazy because it's very accurate. Like he was there to take photos with people at Bulls Fest last year, and he had on breakaway sweatpants and breakaways. Like, what, you think you're going to have to dunk on somebody all of a sudden?
You got to get in the game, baby. You never know. Javante looked like the type of dude wear breakaway pants with no drawers underneath. You got to watch him. Like, he concerning, bro. He just show up. Bro, he show up in too many Too many drug dealer categories, bro. You know what I'm saying, bro?
How did we get here?
Oh, God.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
Oh, man. Any thoughts on Dalen Terry after the draft? Because we've gone very far left.
This is all I say about Dalen Terry at the draft, man.
Don't what? Don't give me hope.
Don't give me hope. Don't give me hope, bro. Like, listen, like, what's worse? Getting knocked out immediately or getting knocked out at 5?
Oh, getting knocked out at 5, bro. Like, literally, if you mean to tell me that we have a chance and we're sitting there like, oh, the Bulls may do it, and then they get called the next one, bro, I'm gonna do you. I'm flipping over a table. It's gonna happen, bro. I'm flipping over the table.
I'm so scared that we're gonna get knocked out at like 5. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just like, bro, come on now. And here's the wild part, right? Like, does the NBA rig it? Like, is there gonna be a full 3-way rig? Now that's a crazy statement. A full 3-way rig in multiple sports out here where we all end up. And here's the thing. I'm all here for it. Rig it, please. Like, I just want to talk about a draft pick here. But let's be 100% honest. The Blackhawks shouldn't have got that pick.
Bro,
The Bears shouldn't have got that pick.
Lovey helped us on that one, bro. Lovey was literally like, I told you what they
Davis
said.
Mills threw a game-winning touchdown with 2 seconds left. What are the chances?
Bro, literally, Roger Goodell called up Lovey, and he was like, listen, Lovey, they're going to fire you either way, bro. So here's what we're going to do, man.
We need Chicago to
Chicago to have the number 1 pick. So go win the game. And Lovey was like, bet, say less. I'm getting fired.
I gotta see if I can get McKee to get Lovey on. Just be like, hey man, come on, dog.
Bro,
come on, dog.
And then as far as the Blackhawks, bro, when the Blackhawks got that number 1 over, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I had put that far out my mind because I'm like, there's no way, bro. There's no way. When I got the alert on my phone, I just assumed that it was that the Blackhawks didn't get it. I got the alert, saw Blackhawks, put my phone back down. It wasn't you. Who texted? I think it was Bobby. Or it was Kev. Texted me. And I was like, wait, what? We got it? It's crazy, bro.
My dad called me and literally was like, are they going to rig all 3? Like, literally the question I just said, are they going to rig all 3 for us to get the pick? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you didn't watch the draft lottery? I was like, no, we had like a 1% chance of getting that mug. Like, what was I watching for? He's like, we got the number 1 overall pick. I'm like, we got Bedard? Like, what? What are we talking about right now, bro? It's listen,
funny. We don't even need to refer to it as the number 1 pick. We got Bedard. Just like
we got Bedard.
We got Bedard. Number 1 overall pick. You didn't get the number 1 overall pick.
We got Wemby.
You got Wemby.
We got Wemby.
Yeah. That's it.
On Wemby though? Are we sold on Wemby? I'm scared.
Bro, I'll tell you what.
I'm scared.
I know
that's
this
the
is
toughest part,
bro. Listen. Ooh. I'm not 100% sold. I'm not sold out on Wemby either, but I'm not
sold on the health. Although he has no injury history, and he does a lot of work with his body.
This is true.
He does a lot of work with his body.
I'll tell you what, if the Bulls are lucky enough to get Wemby, the very first thing matter of fact, don't even play him the whole first year. Lower body workouts the whole first year. That's it.
He's not light, though. How heavy is he, though?
I don't know.
I think he's like skinny, but I think he actually got some weight to him.
Well, that's because bones weigh a lot. Like, I mean, he's like... He's 220 pounds?
I told you. He's not that light, bro. What? He's just tall as heck. He's 7'2". Like, think about this, right?
He's 7'5".
Oh, they got him listed as 7'2" on here. I don't know.
Okay. I'm looking at Draft Express. They got him listed as 7'5".
That's ridiculous, first off. But here's the thing about Wemby, right? Like, so 7'2", 7'5" would be crazy. 7'5", 250 is actually really light.
Yeah, that's not.
Or I'm sorry, 220 is actually really light. But Google has him as 7'2". Let me see what I got for weight on here. Sport media. Okay, I hate the overseas websites, bro. Oh my God, they're terrible. Don't worry about it. But no, yeah, I do see 7'5", 220 pounds. That's still light. That's pretty light, actually.
So that's why.
But he also dribbles like a guard.
This is very true.
I'm nervous on it, and I don't know if Scoot Henderson becomes the number 1 pick. I don't think that you can take him over Victor.
Do you think we rarely see it in the NBA? But if do you think there's any? Let's say the Bulls get number 2. Do you trade? Because 2, 3, 4, 5. Would you trade down to get a little bit more? that's possible.
If I get 3 or 4, yes.
Okay.
Because well,
I love Brandon Miller.
Well,
is
he coming out though? Is he actually going to be able to, like, what's going on with the whole murder case that was going on with him? No, for real. Like, that was the whole, like, the gun in the laundry, all that. Yeah, like, he had the gun in the drawers. You know what I mean? Like, it actually was.
Yeah. Let me see. I think he's committed though. Yeah, he's in the draft. So I guess we'll see, bro.
That's tough. I hope we get the pick. Dalen, bring us something. What if that's all Dalen Terry ever does for the Bulls? The Bulls drafted Dalen Terry.
I'm fine. I'm absolutely
just
fine
to get the number 1 overall pick.
I don't even care. I'm not even worried about it. Who represented us at the draft the year we got Rose? Who was it?
I think Gar went, didn't he? I don't think it was somebody
No,
special.
Gar wasn't hired yet. Gar didn't get hired until after we had Derrick Rose.
Then it might have just been Pax. I don't think it was somebody crazy out here. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure it was just like Pax or something like that. Whole time it was like, it might have been Michael actually.
I don't know. We'll look up that off.
Yeah, that's a deep cut right there. We didn't went deep out here. We didn't went deep.
Yeah.
Hey man, appreciate y'all for showing love and tuning in as always, man. Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Dalen Terry. Don't give us hope, but please.
Let's
get the pick.
Get the pick. Secure the pick. But you guys can follow me.
Like here's the thing. Before we leave, you think they said Dalen because he's sneaky, and so they think he's gonna be able to like switch the cards around. Switch the pick bumpers around.
That's funny. Don't let Dalen Terry in the room beforehand because he absolutely will. But anyway, thank you guys so much, man, for tuning in and rocking with us, man, over here on Locked On Bulls. We'll be back tomorrow with more player evaluations, talking about what else could happen around this team this offseason, man. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. It's been Locked On Bulls. Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all. That's the wrong one.
Clearly.
That's still the wrong one. You're struggling now.